The following segments are pre-recorded and sponsored by Longworth Productions.
A salute to public service on Triad Today. Hello everyone, I'm Jim Longworth and welcome to a special edition of Triad Today, coming to you from the beautiful Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville. Now I say special because over the next half hour we are going to meet and speak with some folks who work largely behind the scenes to help improve quality of life for everyone in Greensboro, and I'm so glad and honored, I feel honored to be able to talk with them today and find out what they're doing. We start out, of course, with the man at the top. He is the new city manager in Greensboro, Nathaniel Trey Davis. Good to see you, Trey.
Good to see you, Jim. Thank you for having me.
Well, before we get started, where were you born and where'd you grow up? Around here? Or?
So I grew up in Butner, North Carolina, Butner, Creedmoor area, small town, very humble, just north of Durham, North Carolina. Came to Greensboro in 2002, and I've made it my home ever since.
Well, now, I introduced you as the new city manager, but the thing is, you're not new to the area because you said you've been around, but you've been in administration and city government for, 23 years, something like that?
I have. So I started in law enforcement in 1996, actually.
Right.
I came to Greensboro as a police officer and worked in that area, in that arena, until 2019. And I stepped into the city manager's office as an assistant city manager over public safety.
How does that kind of longevity of service help you in making your transition to put your stamp on your vision on where you want to take the department? Does the longevity help?
It does. This has truly allowed me the opportunity to have experience with, but also have true knowledge of what community wants to see from its local government.
Well, there's been rapid growth in the city and in Guilford County and the whole area, really, with economic development. What are your plans? What's your vision for trying to keep up with the demand for extra services in transit and housing, those kind of things? What are you going to do?
Leaning on my experience, I know that one thing that's important to our community is that as we grow, that we grow in a way that doesn't harm the people that are here, that we are able to preserve the true identity of Greensboro. So I'm going to focus on infrastructure. Infrastructure means how can I make sure that all of our communities have the right ability to be accessible? All of our areas have the right ability, have opportunities for new growth. Also focus on economic development. And that means we want to focus on, our local businesses and not just the larger corporations. We do want new corporations, but we want to make sure that the people that have been in Greensboro are able to thrive and achieve the goals that they want to see.
Amen. And with your experience in law enforcement, how is that going to shape your vision of running, developing public safety initiatives?
My father was a police officer. My grandfather was a volunteer police officer. My oldest son is in law enforcement. So that's always going to be with me. And that's my first love and my passion. So to keep people safe is going to be at the core of all that I do. I look at infrastructure and I look at economic development, but I'll wrap them all with public safety, because if you can have a city that people feel safe to come work, live, and play in, then you can have a successful city.
And we've talked about workforce and future workforce. That brings me to a quick question on youth. What are you doing to incentivize college students maybe to stay here after they graduate?
With the near 70,000 college students that we have in our area, we want to make sure that we look at opportunities. Internally, we have, our IGN program that incentivizes young folks to be involved in our community and with the city government. Our workforce development just opened a new facility in our downtown area. But we also partner with, groups like our chamber has, the programs through Action Greensboro. They have a number of interns during the summer months that we participate in, but also the Boomerang opportunity that was just recognized nationally. I want to make sure that people know we're in huge support of that.
That's great. Before we run out of time, I can't ignore the fact that you run, it's like an army or a large corporation that you're overseeing, thousands of people. Where do you see your staff and the city going over the next few years?
The next couple of years, I'm hoping to shape us in a way that we can strategically approach how we make Greensboro a more safe city. Strategically approach how we make sure that we're easy to do business. How we make sure that we strategically approach being the youth sports capital of the nation.
Yeah.
And so in those things, how we can shape ourselves to be strategic about how we engage with our community and serve our community in the best way that we can.
Well, up on screen, and we'll do this throughout the program, just to remind in case you want information, greensboro-nc.gov is the website. To City Manager Trey Davis, I hope although this is your first time here on Triad Today, I hope it won't be your last, and I appreciate everything you're doing throughout your service in law enforcement and administration. Keep up the good work, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Jim.
We'll be right back after this.
You know, it's hard to believe the Safe Sober program has been going strong for over 30 years.
And over 600,000 students have made the pledge to stay safe and sober on prom night. You know, Griff, it's had a huge impact on our community.
Yeah, you're right, David. And now we're making sure the message continues year-round.
So everyone can join us in supporting our students.
Learn more and take the pledge at safesober.com, sponsored by Daggett Schuler.
Back now on our special salute to all the great folks who do such great work on behalf of the citizens of Greensboro, and we go to a special guest. We're always glad to see her. Shauna Tillery is Planning and Development Division Manager for the City of Greensboro. Good to see you.
To see you too. Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about the Windsor-Chavis NOCO complex. What is it?
So the Windsor-Chavis NOCO Community Complex is a new facility that we are bringing to Greensboro. It will be a combined recreation, library, and community service hub in East Greensboro. 65,000 square feet facility, including a park across the street for the redevelopment of NOCO Park. This facility is going to integrate both health, wellness, and education together. Through a partnership with Guilford County, there will be a specific area in the facility dedicated to public health and social services. Guilford County is committing $15 million to the project. Cone Health has recently committed $5 million to the project to help with the capital infrastructure development. And this facility is going to bring an innovative approach to service delivery to the community, something that is going to be not only unique for Greensboro, but unique for the state and the country.
You had a groundbreaking, I think, in November, right?
Yes.
And you sort of turned that into a big special event. What was that all about?
So the community celebration is really focused on celebrating the history of this particular area. The first recreation center was built in the 1920s. This will be the third rendition of this, and this will also incorporate Chavis Library, which was the first public library within our library system. So really being able to emphasize the community and the celebration of this innovative approach. Community celebration was really focused on highlighting all of our partners, providing obviously food, because that's an important part of a celebration, highlighting the images of the facility to the public, and also incorporating storytelling and historical collections through the community celebration.
There was something that Carla emailed me one day about a partnership. You talked about partnerships just now, a partnership with the Community Foundation of Greater Greensboro and a public art endowment. Now, what was that all about, and what did it have to do with selecting an artist? And bring me up to speed on that.
Yeah, so we were grateful in 2023 to be selected as a project for the Public Art Endowment, which is a subsidiary of the Community Foundation of Greater Greensboro. Okay. This is one of the most unique projects that the Public Art Endowment has worked on thus far, in that it is a partnership both between the city and the Public Art Endowment. Typically, with a lot of these projects, the Public Art Endowment, through their trustees, selects the artists that will perform said art project. Because this project has been focused on community and engagement from the beginning, we knew that this would be a little bit different approach for them. So as we worked with the Community Foundation through the Public Art Endowment, we also created a group of community stakeholders that would help the endowment trustees to review the submissions of the artist. Good, so over the last few months, we were able to work collectively with a group of community stakeholders to ultimately select our artist for what will be our mosaic medium inside the facility of the new Windsor-Chavis-Noco Community Complex, and that will be Maylene Barnett, and she is an artist out of New York, and we are thrilled to be able to bring her to Greensboro. There will be community engagement as far as what that art is going to represent. That will start in early 2025.
Now, when are we actually going to see some dirt turned and construction crews out there with hard hats and doing that kind of work? When are we going to see that?
We're going to see that at the beginning of 2025. So we're anticipating taking our construction contract to council in January. And then during that process, we will be seeing dirt turning by February of 2025.
Yeah, I see dirt turning in my house all the time. My wife, makes me clean it up. That's a different topic. Now, look, for updates, I want to ask sort of a dual question here. For immediately, how can people keep up with what's going on with the progress of the project? And then if we want to repeat and show your conversation later on next year and it's already up and running, then we can show a website where people can get more information. So how do we keep up?
So we have a project website. It is greensboro-nc.gov/WCNCC. That is the small acronym for it. So all of the information regarding what is going on with the project, news and events and engagement opportunities, it is available there. We'll also do multimedia distributions on anything specific around engagement to the community.
All right, I'm going to put up the general website too, greensboro-nc.gov, for general information about what's going on with the city. Shauna, you got so much information, and I'm so excited about this project. Thanks for your hard work.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this. Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you that Triad Today also airs on GTN Spectrum Channel 13 and streams on WFMY Plus, free on Roku and Amazon Fire. Back now on this special edition of Triad Today as we salute the folks behind the scenes who make things happen and improve quality of life for all the folks in Greensboro. We welcome back a good friend of ours, Reginald Mason. He's director of the Greensboro Transit Agency, and it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
I want to ask you a question because Carla Banks sent me an email one day, and it says something about micro transit.
Yes.
Now, what the heck is micro transit, and how is that different from just other GTA services?
Microtransit is sort of like a Uber, Lyft type service, door-to-door service, using an app to request service from us. And we'll have different zones throughout the city that will offer microtransit service where we can pick a person up, say, from home, take them to a bus stop, or take them to the exact location within that particular zone.
Wow. Now, how long have you been doing that? Or is
That's something that we're going to look at starting in January.
Now, will there be a different fare from me just using regular GTA services versus calling up or doing an app and wanting to use micro? Will there be a difference?
Right now, it's going to be the same fare as riding on a city bus.
And I think you've already sort of partially answered this, but with the micro transit, will there be stops all around the city or just certain areas, or will it be growing as you get it going? Or what?
It will grow as we get it going. Currently, we have a study that's taking place right now with North Carolina Department of Transportation to expand the services, look at areas that really need the services in areas where we don't currently have bus service.
Right.
So that's the areas that we're going to try to hit first.
Now, you're working on this study through your office or with some other folks or agencies, or what kind of study are we talking about?
Well, we're doing the study with NCDOT because there's going to be an area on the east side of town that's going to have some construction starting in July of next year where we won't be able to provide bus service. So we're going to implement the microtransit service in the Franklin Boulevard area as a start because of the construction, and then we're going to expand it out throughout the city.
And then when this all gets up and running, now when do you anticipate everything's going to be in place? I mean, do you have a start date or projected?
I'm hoping March of next year.
Okay.
Yes.
And just so I understand now, if I'm at my house and I want to go somewhere, you're saying there'll be an app that
Yes.
people will be able to use.
It'll be an app, or you can call in and request the service.
I was getting ready to say, because for some of us old folks, we don't do app things,
Yes.
so I'll be able to call in.
You'll be able to call in, but you have to be in the particular zone that offers the microtransit service.
Well, what if I'm in Winston and I want to go see your folks in Arizona? That you won't take me there, will you?
No, I won't take you
Okay.
there.
Now, how will, let me ask you a serious question now. How will GTA patrons and businesses benefit from microtransit in general? What do you think is going to be the big benefit?
Well, connect folks to more places, not only to businesses and doctor's appointments and to neighbors and friends, but more opportunity to explore the city through public transportation.
I don't think I've ever asked, I might have asked you this a long time ago, but what got you interested in transit? I mean, that's a tough business to be in. It's very demanding. When did that bug hit you? Was it a certain time when you were already working for the city, or you just were thinking about it? What?
Well, it was actually by accident. In the military, when I was in the military, I did transportation. And when I got out of the military, I started working in the petrochemical field and oil industry. Got laid off and just happened to get a job in transit, fell in love with it, and I've been in transit ever since.
Now, what branch were you serving?
Marine Corps.
Marine Corps.
Yes, sir.
Now, in that sort of a collateral question of that, I can see in your eyes that you're really gratified about working in this area. I mean, what is it that's gratifying to you about working in transit and helping with this kind of progress?
Well, it helps the community. Helps the community grow. And a lot of folks talk about economic development. Transit is an economic developer. But however, I look at transit also for economic mobility. It helps those that don't have, getting them to jobs, getting them to opportunities.
Healthcare, doctor's appointments,
doctors, creating that economic mobility for people.
Knocking down barriers that we need knocked down in there. I think that's great. Up on screen, as we've been doing throughout the program, greensboro-nc.gov is the general website. Reginald Mason, I just thank you for all you do and keep up the good work, sir.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll be right back after this.
The world's brightest are Fulbrights, Goldwaters, McNairs, and Spartans. Prestigious doesn't have to be expensive. UNCG. Find your way here.
Back now on this special edition of Triad Today, as we honor, recognize, and talk with some folks who work behind the scenes to help improve quality of life for everybody in Greensboro. And one of those folks who does such a great job and has been doing it for a long time is our good friend, Mike Cowick. He's planning project manager for the city of Greensboro. Thanks for dropping by.
Glad to be here.
What is the Benbow Road National Register Historic District project? And I got all that right. And what is that all about?
All right, let me first start by just explaining what we do in the area of historic preservation. The city is responsible for maintaining an inventory of historic architecture, and we do that by conducting surveys, and these are done by architectural historians, and that's to keep a base record of historic resources in the community.
Okay.
And these surveys are funded through grants from the National Park Service. They go through the state of North Carolina. But we recently did a survey, well, I say recently, 2019 it began, but it was a survey of neighborhoods, post-World War II neighborhoods, primarily in East and Southeast Greensboro.
Okay.
And the National Park Service had been encouraging communities to do a better job of recognizing and identifying and documenting neighborhoods, African-American neighborhoods,
okay,
with an emphasis on the civil rights era.
All right, now, so let's get back to Benbow Road National Register Historic District. How did that come about?
All right, it came about because of the survey. The architectural historian identified an area within the larger study area that potentially qualified for the National Register of Historic Places. And this area is along South Benbow Road below Gate City Boulevard.
Now, what exactly qualifies any area to be considered for a historic district? Just briefly, what would qualify a place?
Well, the National Register uses criteria, and there are architectural criteria, and there's historical criteria, and an area has to demonstrate that it had significance to the broad patterns of the history of the community.
Right, and development and everything. I guess, were there any famous people or notable people that might have lived in the Benbow area in the past that folks would be familiar with?
Well, the person who pops to mind first is Henry Fry, who was, he has a list of firsts that just are amazing.
I saw Henry the other night. He looks great.
He served in the Korean War. He was an officer in the Army, and he had already graduated from NCA&T. He came back to Greensboro after serving in the military and went to register to vote, and he was told that he failed the literacy test.
Yeah.
So that led him to the legal profession.
And he's just been an outstanding leader and everything. I tell you, then since you mentioned him, he's a cultural icon, just like some of these historic places. Before time gets away from us, these historic properties, why is it significant for a property to be named in a historic district? What do you think?
Well, I think if you go to the city's comprehensive plan, it encourages the city to maintain its historic identity and unique character, and you do that by preserving historic properties. And the first step in preserving properties is identifying and recognizing them.
Which I think is important too, because you go to cities like Los Angeles and they like to tear stuff down. And there's a lot of cities just don't have that. But before time gets away, I have to say to the folks, I think you held the record as the longest serving full-time employee in Greensboro. How many years?
I think that's been exaggerated, but I'll take it.
40-some years, yeah. You and I are both, I'm in my 70s, so you and I are they ought to put both of us as historic properties, don't you think?
I feel like a historic landmark myself.
Up on the screen, greensboro-nc.gov is the general website. Mike, thanks for all you do and all you have been doing, and we appreciate you coming.
Well, thank you very much.
All right. We'll be right back after this. Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you to catch my column Longworth at Large and Yes Weekly every week. It's available throughout the Triad, or you can go online, yesweekly.com. Back now on this special edition of Triad Today, as we've been spending the half hour saluting, recognizing, and speaking with folks who work sort of behind the scenes to make things better in the city of Greensboro for all of us. And we're with Carol Hart right now. She's director of the Greensboro History Museum. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
By way of born in Japan and lived in New York and now here, we're so glad you're here.
It's been an honor to be down here and do the work of a historian.
Right. Now, this is a special anniversary for the museum. What milestone have you guys reached?
We are 100 years old as an organization as of November 6th of 24. And then we have another 100th anniversary to look forward to on November 11th, 25. It will be 100 years that the museum first opened its doors.
Wow. Okay. Now, how did the museum originate, and didn't it have a different name then, or what? Am I wrong about that?
Originally, it was the Greensboro Historical Museum. Just within the last 10 years or so, we shortened a little bit with social media, other things, just to tighten things up again.
Right.
But it was founded as a historical museum by a group of volunteers who thought it was time that Greensboro had its own history museum. The city was growing. The 20s was an incredible time of growth for the region.
Yeah. Why are you looking at me when you said the 1920s? I mean, well, yeah, I think I was at the opening of the museum 100 years ago. Hey, look. For folks outside the area and folks watch all over this region, where exactly is the museum located?
We are right downtown Greensboro in the thick of the cultural district, right next to the Tanger Center, the new Performing Arts Center, the Bauer Park, the library. So we're very easy to find, and we're also free, and we've always been free, which is wonderful, in part because of the incredible public-private partnership between the city and the library and the great volunteers that have made up the nonprofit.
But now the building, you were in a different building, not you, but the museum was in a different building originally, right?
Yes, we started within the public library, and we were there for a few years, and for a few years we were in a school. But then we did end up back in 1939 in the building we're currently in. We shared the space with the library again and some other organizations. And since about 63, we've totally had the building to ourselves.
Now, Carol, are there any new exhibits that'll be on display because of the centennial?
Yes, we're really taking this opportunity to look back, but also look ahead and invite the public to come in. So right now we're shaping a new exhibit that will be opening on November 11th and 25 that will commemorate the 100th, but also have some of the secrets and mysteries that come with 100 years of the work of history, and we hope will be very engaging for people.
Do you have special events at the museum as well?
We do, and currently we just opened a small space in honor of the 100th that sort of sets the tone for the building itself, which was the first Presbyterian church at one time, and people have been gathering there for a long time, so that's new. And we have a number of events coming up, Lunar New Year's, for Black History Month, Women's History Month, and we're going to be celebrating the 100 years of collecting voices and stories.
Why is it important for people of all ages to embrace history? Because sometimes we're so engaged in the now that we don't look back.
I think it's a way for us to connect with each other and with our ancestors and with the past, and hopefully learn a little bit about where we came from and how we got through tough times before. Sometimes it just take a breath. It may feel like this is the worst thing that ever happened, but if you look back, similar things have happened in the past.
Puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
It sure does. If we just think back to 24, why this museum came to be, had just come through the war to end all wars, World War I, had just come through a major pandemic, the Spanish flu. It seemed for a while there that we have to document this time. This is unusual times that will never happen again.
Yeah.
Fast forward 100 years, we have another pandemic. We have other difficulties.
History repeats itself sometimes, but it's good for us to understand the history, the good things and the bad, and so that we don't repeat the bad. And I appreciate all you're doing. Up on screen, greensborohistory.org is the specific website. You can go to the general website, greensboro-nc.gov as well. Carol, thanks for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming.
Thanks.
That wraps it up for this special edition of Triad Today. I want to especially thank Carla Banks for all her help in putting this together. And thank you folks at home for watching. It's important that we honor and recognize the folks behind the scenes that do so much for all of us. And for all of us here at Triad Today, I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next week.